Justin declaring for the draft yesterday, you've been through this process with multiple guys before.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see your role in helping him through this entire thing?
Just support. In our program, we value relationships above all else, and that's not just relationships during the season or while guys are here. It's also relationships over the whole course of their life and their career. So. Justin's had a phenomenal season. The growth that he's demonstrated, I think, is as good as anyone I've seen. From one year to the next, as evidenced by him winning the most improved player in the Big East and being first team All Big East. And so now, he's earned the right to be in a position where he can explore his options, where he can, get a chance to. Go to NBA cities and get in front of those teams and show who he is as a person, who he is as a player. And so you ask what's my role, just to support him in that, to love him, to give him any guidance that he needs, and always have his back.
When he was trying to make his decision, what were you just get advice? Were you sort of giving him about pros, cons, that kind of thing?
Biggest advice I always give Justin, and this has not changed since I got here, is that you have to prioritize your personal growth over all else. I think that's why over the last 12 months he's made such a big leap as a player, is that he's grown in all the elements of character and competitive character that go into being a full-fledged adult. And he turned 20 yesterday, and so I think just continue to grow in that way. That's the biggest advice I've given him. As it relates to this whole process, I think just going after it and making sure that he gets his body ready and he gets his game, exactly where he wants it to be, so that he can show the best version of himself.
Shaka, how much do you enjoy the fact that it's been a while since they changed it, but that the university can benefit from this, but yet he can benefit from this too if he comes back, or whether he stays pro or whatever, that he's got options, whether years ago it wasn't that way?
Well, I think that the process has evolved to be such that a guy like Justin can gather information and really try to get a great sense for where he is and what teams think of him. There's a lot of these days, prognostications, kind of like the NCAA tournament. There's a lot of bracketology, but at the end of the day, there's, I don't know how many it is, 10 or 12 guys in a room on a committee that pick who plays in the NCAA tournament and where you play. Same thing with this process. There's a lot of prognostication. There's a lot of people that think they know, where a guy might go, who a team might pick. But in reality, there's a bunch of guys in a room in 30 NBA cities that, put a lot of time and energy and money and resources into determining this is someone we want to add to our franchise. And as I was telling one of our other guys earlier today, the level of scrutiny only goes up with each level. So there's high school basketball. This guy's a nice, solid high school player, or a quote-unquote elite high school player. And there's college basketball, and the same for that. And then there's, trying to be one of the top 450 players in the world. And again, Justin's put himself in that conversation, through his hard work, through his growth as a person. So I think the way that the process has evolved is it's gotten more and more friendly to someone in his position that really wants to see where he stands.
Do you reach out to people in the league just to gather information and then funnel that to Justin a little bit?
Well, the way the process works now is, a guy like Justin is allowed to sign with an NCAA certified agent. So once you have an agent, they're the ones that mostly do that. Now we do have a lot of relationships with folks in the NBA. It's honestly it's kind of more them calling us at this time. One thing we have done for other guys in the past is just kind of put together a binder with each NBA team, having a page and finding, okay, here's where they think your draft range is, and then also what are the things that they really like about you, or what are the things that they think you need to get better at. But I think with Justin having signed with an NCAA certified agent, a lot of times that stuff gets done through the agent.
And then with the signing of Ben Gold today, you get a video of this kid, a New Zealand kid playing in Australia. What immediately stood out to you about him?
I'm super excited about Ben Gold. There's a lot of attributes that he has that I believe once he gets his feet under him here, and that does take time for any freshman, but once he makes the transition, it's really exciting what he can become as a player. He has, for an incoming player, he has very good maturity. As you guys know, there's something about international guys with some of the experience they have that makes them a little bit different than American-born players from the standpoint of perspective, from the standpoint of lived experiences. He has that. He comes from a basketball family, and he's got older brothers that play the game. As the youngest of three, he's used to trying to compete with those guys, but he's kind of passed them up in terms of height and size. The way his body's changed in the last 2-3 years is amazing. You always try to get guys that are trending upward. One of the best players I've ever coached is a guy by the name of Jackson Hayes, who plays for the Pelicans in the NBA. And when we first saw him, and then we saw him again a couple of months later, it was evident he was like on a rocket ship. And so it was going to be hard to mess that up. And he just continued on the rocket ship, and he still is. Ben Gold is on an upward trajectory. He's getting better and better. His confidence has grown as his body's gotten stronger, and he's really excited about coming in here in late May and getting to work with Sean Jones, Chase Ross, and the rest of our guys.
Omax was a part of the NBA Global Academy, and now Ben's also there. What's to say about the talent and just the competition in there? And could you see a lot more colleges kind of like pull from there, maybe?
Well, a lot of them are. I mean, those NBA academies have a lot of good players, and Ben's coming from the NBA Academy Australia. Omax came from the NBA Academy in Latin America. There's an NBA Academy in Africa that when I saw those teams play in December, I thought they actually had the most talent overall. So there's a lot of talent on those teams. I think the challenging thing is just finding, okay, who's a good fit for us? And then being able to ascertain that when you have a bunch of guys playing together that aren't used to playing together, come from different backgrounds, sometimes speak different languages. When I saw Ben play, he was playing with the Latin American team in Las Vegas, and he was playing a little bit out of position. It was his first couple weeks with that team, and fortunately we had watched a lot of tape on him, so we knew what he was all about as a player. It was just getting a chance to kind of see him as in person. We had already offered him a scholarship, and he's a high character guy who has a chance, I think, to become a terrific player here.
He got some time with the New Zealand senior team too.
He did.
Playing with grown men.
Yeah.
Have you talked with him about how that's helping him?
They call them the Tall Blacks.
Yeah.
You guys are familiar with the All Blacks, the phenomenal rugby team that they have. And Ben actually, one thing I like about him, he has a rugby background. He used to play rugby, which to me, it's kind of like football players in this country. Like, you're not going to be soft. If you play that sport.